Sri K.Jayakumar IAS, the icon of Kerala, a bureaucrat, chief secretary, the Malayalam University founding vice chancellor, poet, lyricist, writer, translator, painter, scriptwriter, director, a multi-versatile person. The time we are going to spend together with him today in order to bring his wisdom, knowledge and experience. Share those with our young generation, teachers and with our parents and all of us. I truly believe that this is going to be an inspiration for all generations to come. How he put together his passion and professionalism side by side and led a beautiful life. Let us hear from him, his beautiful life story. Welcome, sir. So, Jayakumar sir, can you share a summary of your creativity, like creative pieces? How many songs you wrote, how many translations you did, how many kavidas you wrote, how many books you wrote, then what else, how many, like the paintings, all those things.
Unfortunately, people think that I have written only a few songs, or people think that my creativity is all about writing a few songs. I'm not saying that writing songs is not an interesting job or an important job. Of course it is, because it reaches directly to the people. To everybody we relate with every ordinary people also.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to be an intellectual to understand a song. So in that way I enjoy being known as a lyric writer, because I can relate with all kinds of people, even all generations of people also. But why I said unfortunately is because my lyric writing is only a small part of my creative life. Unfortunately, people do not know about the other parts.
Right.
Because film, anything connected with film attracts attention.
Right.
So it gets a larger than life importance. So wherever I go, people identify me with Chandana Leva Sugandha or Surya Amshu or Vailpu. I'm happy about it, but I'm unhappy because many people do not understand or even recognize that I have written as many poems in Malayalam and English as I have film songs.
Film songs.
My film songs all put together should be around 500 songs.
Wow.
Plus another 500 songs, non-filmy songs, like drama
Albums
songs,
and
Agashwani, All in the Radio, Doordarshan, and so many other albums.
Okay.
Then songs for TV serials, for temples, all kinds of devotional songs, for churches, for Christmas songs. I must have written another 500 songs, non-filmy songs.
Non-filmy songs.
Around 500 songs for films, because I have completed nearly 130 films. I've written for 130 films. Sometimes this program anchors, they say that he has written 130 songs. No, I have written for 130 films.
Films, yeah.
Which will be around 450 to 500 songs.
Okay. Then the translations, right?
But that is about the film songs. But I have written as many poems in Malayalam. I am a poet in Malayalam. I don't say that I am the most leading poet in Malayalam, but I am a recognized poet in Malayalam. I have been writing since 1984, 85. 84, 85. I started writing seriously Malayalam poems, and I have been publishing ever since. Even today's Madhurabhumi Weekly also has one of my poems.
Wow.
And most of the Onam Visheshal Pradigal also had carried my poems.
Yeah.
I must have written nearly how many? 12 anthologies of poems. Every anthology contains around 30 to 40 poems. That should be around 400 poems. Plus another 3 anthologies of poems in English. So that would make around 500 poems.
Okay.
And of course, the biggest, depressing factor is that although film songs are well appreciated, it gives me some fame and all that, people recognize me, but the kind of creative energy that is required to write 14 lines of poem is far more than what is required to write a song for a film.
Film song, okay.
Almost all the songs I have written for films are the product of one night's labor, except a few exceptions. Otherwise, one night means 1 or 1.5 songs, or 2 nights means 2 songs. I am a night creature, nocturnal creature. I write, most of my creative life is at night. By day I am a public man, and by night I am a private man. So the amount of time that you take to write, say 12 lines of poem is quite enormous. It might take nearly 3 weeks to send a poem of 14 lines or 20 lines to a renowned publication. Before you do that, you take around 2 to 3 weeks, several rounds of rewriting, several rounds of critical analysis, thinking whether this word, is it not a cliche, is it not too direct, can I make it differently? Whereas for a film song, it is a collective enterprise also.
Right, yeah.
It should appeal not only to me, but to my director, to my music director, to my perceived audience. So everybody should say, that is fine, wonderful. So there always you make compromises, you know. I might have written words, I might have given words which normally I wouldn't use for my poems.
Poems, yeah.
Then there is one more danger to my critical life, my creative life. There is one more, what should I say, threat to my creative life. That is, people think that because I write lyrics for Malayalam films, they think that my poetry is also of the same, what should I say, genre or the same type.
Okay.
To elaborate it, Malayalam poetry is no longer romantic poetry. It is not the romantic poetry of Changambuzha. It has transcended Changambuzha, it has transcended Shankara Kurupu, it has transcended N.V. Krishna Warrior, Vailopalli, everybody, and now it is we are in the most post-modern phase of Malayalam poetry, where the diction is entirely different, the construction is entirely different, your point of view is entirely different, everything is different. Malayalam poetry is an entirely different ball game. You cannot afford to have a diction of a Malayalam film song in a poem. You will be immediately trashed. Malayalam literature will immediately trash me if I write something like a film song in the name of my poetry. They are entirely two distant cousins not even on talking terms. They are estranged cousins, they don't talk each other.
I feel like sitting in a Malayalam class or something.
So people ask me, how do you afford this? I said, as I said, film lyrics is for entirely different purpose. Whereas poetry, why is it important for a poet? Or why is it that it hurts a poet when his poetry is ignored? That is because the kind of creative energy that you have charged your writing is so enormous. Part of your chi, as the Chinese say, part of your inner that suchness that has been given to a poem. Moreover, that's a different thing. I don't want to elaborate how you write a poem and all that, but the kind of creative energy is so much to the extent that you feel exhausted once you write a poem, because you live in a community, you live in your times, you relate with your times, you relate with your political realities, you relate with the ordinary voices of invisible people or unheard voices. As Matthew Arnold would say, the still sad music of humanity. All these things are there. You relate. It's a connectivity. It's a creative connecting channel with society and the times. Whereas lyrics is entirely different thing. It is for the character. Whereas poetry is for me.
Yeah.
I speak.
Yeah.
I speak from the quintessential reality of our times. Then what I have done otherwise, other than writing poetry and lyrics, is I've been a translator right from the beginning. Started with Tagore. My first translation, I think, was Gitanjali of Tagore. Then I went on to write a biography on Tagore. I won't describe myself as a Tagore scholar, but nevertheless I'll call myself a Tagore student. I have translated Gitanjali. I have written a biography on Tagore. I have written an introduction to Gitanjali, because I thought that Gitanjali, although much hailed, many people do not understand the spirit of Gitanjali. People understand what is it. Somebody talking to somebody, what is this? I had also passed through that stage. So I thought that I should be able to tell the people what is it all about, who is talking to whom and for what. So I wrote something called, the title of the book is Aparadayod Anuragamugo. Translated it sounds to eternity with love, to infinity with love, not eternity, infinity with Aparadayod Anuragamugo. Aparada could also be eternity as well as infinity, isn't it? That is what Tagore's spirituality is all about. Then I translated 100 mystic poems of Tagore. Then I translated Rumi, 100 poems of Rumi. Then I translated the much celebrated Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Then I translated Khalil Gibran, the much celebrated, well-known prophet. Once I translated Prophet, I fell in love with Gibran. Then I went on to translate his masterpiece, which is called, many people don't know that, Jesus the Son of Man. That is his masterpiece, which I translated, Manushyaputrana Yeshu. Then what did I do? Then I translated some of this Lao Tzu, Chinese Lao Tzu, Book of Tao, which is also available. Because I thought Taoism is quite close to our Vedanta or Advaita. Anyway. Then what did I translate? Kabir I translated.
Okay.
So, all these spiritual poets who have a very positive engagement with life and an engagement with beyond life.
Right.
That kind of poetry appeals to me because my poetry is entirely different. It is my aspirational poetry to be somebody like them, where I could see the beauty of life, whereas now I see the ugliness of life. I should be able to see the happiness of life, the joy of life, for which spirituality is the only way by which you can appreciate the spirituality of life, despite all the suffering and grievances, isn't it? So we have to raise ourselves to a different platform. That is what I am doing through my translations. One day I think my aspirational poets and me will become closer. That is my aspiration. Not that I will become a Tagore, I will become closer to him. Not that I will become a Gibran, but I will become closer to him. I will not become Rumi, but I will be closer. I will appreciate him more and more. Now I am writing not a novel, but a lyrical this thing on Rumi and his life, because Rumi fascinates me. So these are my translations. I think there are a few more, I forget. So that is my creative life. Plus I have been writing relentlessly on various topics.
Yes.
On literary criticism. I started my literary career, by writing a book on Kumaran Ashan.
Yeah.
Ashan and Manasa Putramar when I was studying for my BSc. Ashan had been a passion with me. A few years ago, 5 years ago, I wrote another book on Kumaran Ashan called Veena Bhuvu Viktam Vriksha, which fetched me an award also from Kumaran Ashan Memorial. Veena Bhuvu Viktam Vriksha. Because Kumaran Ashan is perhaps the most important poet of Malayalam after Ezhuthachan. There is no poet who can approach him because he is such a great poet. The world is yet to recognize him. That is what I think. Anyway, so Ashan has been an obsession with me. So these are the things which I have done.
Paintings
I have also done a lot of. I have been doing a column in my New Indian Express for the last 7 years, writing on contemporary topics, on development, on governance, not directly on politics, but on social issues. So that keeps me engaged with the social developments.
Yeah.
As a bureaucrat,
Yeah.
I've been observing all the social changes, the corruption, all kinds of things. Then these are the few things I've been doing. Then I've been writing a few scripts here and there, small scripts, which I've worked out. Then I've written children's novels, 2 novels. One is Varna Chiraigal, which I made into a movie earlier. Then recent one is Santa Claus, which was also made into a movie. I didn't direct it, somebody else directed it. Then on the creative side, I have been directing a few documentaries. I have directed a documentary on O.N.V. Kurup by name Snehichu Dirathor. That was for Kendra Central Sahitya Academy. Then I scripted a documentary which the late director K.Jayakumar directed on M.T. Vasudevan. I scripted it. Then I scripted and directed another documentary on the contemporary of Srinarayana Guru, the great spiritual leader, social reformer, Vagbhadananda Gurudevan. Vagbhadananda Gurudevan is from Patiyam in Kannur. He lived in Calicut and he was a great, very, very aggressive social reformer, I should say. So I made a He is the person who started the present very famous Uralungal Labour Cooperative Society. It is he who started for the workers. So now it has grown so much. So I did a documentary on him. Then also I did a documentary on my own father.
Yeah,
M.
that's
Krishnan Nair, A
latest,
Life in Black and White. That was again sponsored by the Film Academy. So these are the few documentaries I've been doing, plus so many other things. I've been leading a very active creative life because I write for journals, write for periodicals. People keep asking me for this or that, so I keep writing. So every night I write something.
Then I feel like your speeches also like is so much creative side, you know, it's like, you know, Ashan and then Srinarayana Guru. Yeah, you are.
Then I also did a book on Srinarayana Guru.
Yes, yeah.
Atmavada Shadagam I have not translated, I have
Interpreted
in Malayalam.
yeah.
Had a lighter prose translation.
Exactly, yeah.
See, it's all because the talks I make in schools or colleges or public places or the articles I write, basically all the creative things you do, not only for me, for every creative person, it is his personality that comes out.
So listening to all this, you know, we feel like the audience first time listening to Jayakumar sir feel like, you know, wow, very creative person. So it's not just that. You are the other side we need to explore now, the professional side. So can you please share with us all the different positions, like, you know, interesting positions you...
When I retired in 2012 or so, I wrote a poem called The Visiting Cards. I have translated it in English also. That I don't remember the lines exactly, but the poem is a very small poem which says, I have the visiting cards on my table, on my drawer. Visiting cards which people have given me when I was occupying various chairs. I have also given them my cards when I occupied various chairs.
Okay.
Now these cards do not mean anything to me because I do not have a chair to sit now.
Okay.
And these cards proclaim that I was this and I was that.
Right.
Now I am nothing. Does it mean that I am still something? I am searching for that. Beyond the visiting cards. Visiting cards is your official identity.
Correct, yeah.
Beyond these visiting cards which I am going to dump into the dustbin, is there something called me? That is me. The others are all, you know, like all the world is a stage, as Shakespeare would say. He adorned so many dresses, so many costumes, sit in a particular chair, act in a particular manner. Very good. I have enjoyed every bit of it. Not that it was a suffering for me. I was always happy doing my job because I enjoyed it. I loved it. When I was Secretary Education, I thought that I should be I should do great things in education. It's an opportunity for me to sort of do something good for education, because then I was Agriculture Production Commissioner. Then I thought that I should do something in agriculture. The distance between an ordinary farmer and my Krishi Bhavan should end.
Yeah.
People should go.
Exactly.
So all your social commitments, your public commitments, your humanism. I thought all my jobs which I have done quite a lot of work. In the sense, I had the good fortune of occupying several positions at the same time. In fact, at one point of time, I had 5 hats to adorn. But then why some people were quite annoyed by that. Why every post goes to Jayakumar.
Correct, yeah.
That is because my ministers were very happy with me.
Right. You're able to
My
handle.
ministers would, in the cabinet, go and ask, can I get so and so me for this job? So the other minister would say, he is already my departmental secretary. So I'll say, spare him. So at the end of the day, I had 5 departments. I was, lot of work, of course.
Yes, yeah.
Lot of work, sitting very late at night in the office. But then I enjoyed everything because I knew it's the opportunity. Everything happens at a particular time, you know. Now if I want to learn more about how education department works, nobody is going to allow me inside.
Right.
When I am Home Secretary, I know how your police works, how your fire works, how your jail works, how your in a CBI or our special branch works. You know, these are it. So if you have a passion for your work, every job is interesting. Every job is interesting. So I have enjoyed all the work I have been entrusted with. when I was district collector Calicut long ago in 86 to 89, I told my wife, look, don't expect me for lunch. Don't wait for me for dinner. I will come whenever it is possible. These 2.5 years or 2 years, whatever I did know, I'm going to be in public service. So she said, okay, after collectorship you will be
Fine. Yeah.
home at
she'll-
5 o'clock. Yesterday she had an interview with somebody on TV. She said that was never observed. Once I came out of collectorship, I became even more busier in the sense then I was director tourism. So I have to remodel tourism. That is how we coined the phrase Kerala God's own country and started marketing very aggressively. That was all during my time. 89 to 92 and then up to 95 when I was Secretary Tourism, earlier Director Tourism. I think that every civil servant should think like that. You are in a very pivotal position. When you are a Secretary to government, above you have only the minister. Of course, Chief Secretary is there, but above you have only the minister and then the Chief Minister and the Cabinet, Council of Ministers. In that such a setup, you are in a very, very pivotal job. If you want to make changes in the department, it is your dimag that should work. You should think that yes, there is a problem here, I should try to improve like this. I'm not sitting there to defend the status quo.
Defend the status
Not at all.
Okay.
To change the status quo.
Okay.
And correct the distortions. But then it is a lot of work because doing something new is quite problematic. There will be opposition, somebody else will be deprived of some privilege, he will sort of write an anonymous letter against. All these things are there, that's all part of the game.
Part of the game,
I have
yeah.
no grudges against anyone.
Perfect.
But then I have never given up. In tourism, I was there as director for 2.5 years, then 5 years I was Secretary Tourism. In the 7 years, I think at the age of 72, when I look back, I was 36 or something,
Right.
half my age,
Yeah.
when I was Director Tourism. Looking back after so many years, I think I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Because had I sort of decided to relax, now I am in tourism, let me relax, let me go to certain resorts, enjoy their hospitality and have a fun time, then people would have hated me.
Yeah.
People would have ticked me off as a waste. But I did work very well, I should say. Very well in the sense, very hard. The results are there to see. That was the time when tourism evolved into a professional industry in Kerala. A lot of private operators came in and then there is no looking back. Today Kerala Tourism is one of the top brands in Indian tourism.
Indian tourism.
They have not still changed the tag Kerala God's own country. In one of the meetings I said, why don't you change it? There is a fatigue. They said only you know the fatigue, nobody knows.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. So that goes on. Then in education also I try to do whatever is possible. Lot of things, I don't want to narrate all of them. Then I was Film Development Corporation MD, then I was Culture Secretary, then I was Cashew Corporation MD, then I was Car Corporation MD, then I was Tourism Secretary, Culture Secretary, Water Resource Secretary, then I went to Delhi, where I was Joint Secretary Culture. Briefly I worked also in Union Public Service Commission. Then I came to Culture and worked for 5 years there. That was a wonderful experience. I've spoken about it in Safari Channel interview. Because only when I went to Delhi I discovered that India is the world in itself. Living in Kerala, one doesn't know India.
Correct. Yeah.
How rich and diverse it is. Infinitely rich. Infinitely rich. You cannot master it. Even if you have to take another few more births, it should be in India only, because India is such the wonder that was India, as Basham has said in his wonderful book. It is a real wonder. There is no country like India. It was only when I was Joint Secretary Culture, I had opportunity to travel to several states, Northeast, to Calcutta, to all kinds of places, As Joint Secretary Culture, you had the privilege. You can go. For some pretext or the other, you go and you see a lot of people, wonderful artists, painters, singers. There is one tribe in Rajasthan called Manganiyas, Lankas and Manganiyas. They are by tradition singers. Every child sings. And at a high pitch, beautiful songs. In fact, we had invited them to Delhi, to Rashtrapati Bhavan and all that to perform. Now they are very busy. So there are so many people, housewives do wonderful paintings. All these Kalandari paintings or your Madhubani paintings, all are done by ordinary people, but there is lot of talent. So I am actually in love with India. Whatever be the political reality and social reality, but the cultural India is so rich. It is an empire unto itself. Nobody knows about it much.
So in that same line, let me ask you a question like, what's your recommendation for an NRI kids?
Come back as early as possible. India is a wonderful country.
No, reading a book or something, what you can suggest, like to explore India from there, which are some of the recommended books by
Books are
you?
so many. I think straight away which comes to my mind is read two books. One is Shashi Tharoor's book from Mohenjo-daro to what's it, Millennium. What is it? He wrote it in 2000. You know, I forget the name.
Okay.
It ends at Millennium. It actually it talks about India in the
Complete. Okay.
It's his assessment.
Okay.
From midnight to I think I have the book here. Then another thing is the book called The Idea of India. I'll give you those books. They are
Okay.
here.
Oh, perfect.
These two books are written by contemporary authors living in the United States. So that gives a real perspective.
So our kids can relate to that when they read,
Because
no?
it's given with that kind of perspective. Unlike
Correct.
somebody living in India writing about India may not appeal to them. But these two books, The Idea of India and Midnight to Millennium, I think so, yeah. Shashi Tharoor's book is very good. These two books, I think anybody can read. And they should rediscover India. America is wonderful because it is a land law-abiding citizens. I think that is what I felt. Everybody obeys laws. Laws are for people. And law is really fair. That way, life has a lot of certainty in America. Here there is a lot of uncertainty, no doubt about it. A lot of uncertainty. There are a lot of, what should I say, twilight areas, neither black nor white. Only Indians know about it. Coming from America, your kids will think that whatever, all that glitters is not gold. You think everything glitter is gold. It's not so.
Right, yeah.
Living in India requires a little bit of adjustment. That is all.
Street smart.
But then, no, not really. I'm not a street smart fellow, but I've survived. Nobody kicked me. But basically, you should have a passion for India.
How did you manage that, since you're talking about nobody kicked me, don't you feel like, that pressure or that...
Why should there be pressure? Of course, there will be pressure. In any job will give you pressure. Even if you are a shopkeeper, it will give you pressure, isn't it? Some 12 customers waiting in the queue, there will be pressure. It will be over. Once the 12th customer goes away, you can relax. Likewise.
No, like doing the wrong things, some kind of like...
I have pondered over that. Many people say that IAS is so stressful. Working with ministers is stressful, politicians is stressful.
Yeah, that's exactly my question.
All stress is in our mind. All stress is in our mind. Basically, you should not do anything which will generate stress. What is it that generates stress? Something which will be discovered and which is not good for you, that is stressful.
Don't you, people pressurize you to do that?
What? You do what is wrong, what is right. Then what is your problem? And be prepared for the consequence. You will be transferred. Yes, so what? So what?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I had a friend, a girlfriend rather. She once gave me an advice. She said, one philosophy to survive on earth. Nothing has perennial value. You ask this question, so what? But then it is not easy to ask. Somebody very dear to you passes away. You can't say, so what? There is something.
Yeah.
After some time, the so what will dawn on you. In official matters, what is the ultimate consequence? You will be transferred, isn't it? Then there is one more thing. In my eagerness to do things fast, even now I have quarrels with my office, do fast. We are not here for donkey's ears. Fatafat karo. That doesn't mean that you break the rules. You obey all the rules. You go by the law. But where is the law which says that you should delay your files for 20 days? Do it. Obey the rules. I am not saying that you violate the rules. If it is a fit case to reject it fast so that you can go in appeal. Don't keep for 6 months and say that no, I can't agree.
Okay,
do it fast. That
right.
is all. My mantra has been that.
Spontaneous, yeah.
Fatafat kardo.
And
if it is, you see, never violate a rule. I tell these young IAS officers come to my institute for training. I also talk to them or take a class. Invariably I tell them that we are all persons in a hurry. We want to change the system, we want to change our department. Do whatever you want. but never break a rule. There are stupid rules. I understand. There are any number of stupid rules, but however stupid they are, as
Rules
long
are-
as they are on the rule book, obey them. But if they are so stupid, you should use all your might to get it changed. In due process of law, you bring it to your superior, you bring it to your notice of your minister saying that, sir, this rule is creating problems. So he will normally say, then why don't you suggest a change? So you draft a change, it will go to law department, they will put it in the legal terminology, it will go to concerned people, it will go to cabinet, finally a rule amendment will come. Maybe in 5 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 5 years, it will come. But as long as a stupid rule is there, obey that stupid rule. Don't say that I violated it because it is stupid. You
No,
don't have
yeah,
that kind
no,
of
we cannot do
discussion.
that. Yeah. So do
Many vigilance cases, people have entered, right-minded people who have never done a mistake, have only taken these rules for granted. You can interpret. If you have a freeway, if you have a leeway, you can interpret. There might be certain situations where the rule gives, subject to your subjective satisfaction, discretion and all that. If it is there, you use it. Otherwise, no.
do you feel like your creative side helped like that?
I think so, because if I did not have a parallel life, my entire mind space would be filled by only my office.
Correct, yeah.
Whereas the moment I get into the car from my office, I come down by stair, my car is there, I get into the car, the end. Then office doesn't bother
That's the
me.
biggest advice to the new
Then I
generation.
think about, yesterday I stopped writing that I have to go back and, so then I convert, my office does not follow me. I do not carry the worries of the office home. I don't carry any file home, even in my most busiest days. Everything, I'll sit up to 8 o'clock perhaps. I might go on on a Sunday or a Saturday or a holiday for half a day. I'll go and clear my file, but I'll not take it home. There are so many officers who will put it in a trunk and take it home and bring it back. Some of them bring it back as such without opening them. So that is also there. I never put it back.
So when you look back now, like the 17-year-old of you, you really
22.
expect 17-year.
My 17-year-old
yeah.
fellow, okay.
So you were like a curious child, passionate child, creative child. Like you were expecting all this going to happen like this, like.
I'll tell you very frankly. In my 17, 18-year-old, my ultimate objectives were only two. One, I should become a writer.
Okay. See.
സാഹിത്യമുണ്ട്. Secondly, I have to become a teacher. Maybe in a college.
Wow.
A college teacher, good enough. As a college teacher, my literary life will flourish.
Right. Yeah.
So they are mutually reiterative.
Yeah.
So I will be known as a good teacher as well as a good writer. So my space was just Trivandrum and Kerala. I never thought beyond it. But then, life takes you to places. At that time, I thought I'll do my Malayalam MA, or my family wanted me to complete my MBBS. I have never visualized myself in a white coat and a step. Never visualized, and it never happened. Nothing will happen unless you visualize, As that book says,
Yeah.
the magic says,
Manifest.
you have to visualize. I
Manifest
never
it.
visualized me in a white coat and a stethoscope. No. But I visualized me as not like Sahitya Varabalakshana or Sarapala Allengilum, somebody who sort of reads a lot of books and writes, people recognize you as a poet, a good teacher. That was my image of myself. But then I went on to study English literature. Then I thought of clearing my civil service exam. So, but then I did not forget my first love. It is not like M.D. Vasudevan character in Kalan, who forgets about his country girl, when he goes to the town. Likewise, my first love, literature, has always been with me, although I married twice. IAS, of course, is, if it is a marriage, of course I married, but my country girl, village girl, my literature, I always had a very passionate relationship. So that is how my creative life unfolded. Now that official life is phasing out, I would, but then after retirement also I had a lot of other engagements. 5 years as Vice Chancellor, now for the last few years as the Director of this training institution. I enjoy that also. But then now mostly my mind is filled by creative ideas.
Since you mentioned teacher, like what is the big change you are seeing in the education right now? Like our kids, how to guide our
See,
younger generation?
Education doesn't take place in a vacuum. Education is the, what should I say, the microcosm of your society. What happens in society will be reflected in education. When we say that our kids are not listening, our kids are no longer attentive, they don't read anything, they don't respect the teachers. These are the usual charges against the children. They don't respect the teachers, they don't have any values, easily influenced, wasting time on your mobile, distracted. Now, all these wonderful attributes have been given to children. They don't belong to the children, they belong to their parents. Their parents are equally distracted. If you make an honest introspection, we are more distracted than our parents.
Right.
We are more impatient than our parents.
Right.
We are more disrespectful than our parents.
Oh, yes.
Where we are not as respectful to our parents as they were to their parents. That is what I am saying. Your mother or my mother was far more respectful to their parent than we are to our parents. Likewise, our children are less respectful to us.
It's dilute.
Yes. It's a social reality. We have technological distractions, so we are distracted. You are distracted less because at that time our mobile phone was not so versatile.
Correct,
Now the child has a very versatile instrument in his hand, he is distracted. These are not, I don't think these are matters of concern. What is matter of concern is the erosion in values. Erosion in values. That is something which we have to very sensitively analyze. Whether the values have gone down. For example, now it also is a reflection about the impact that the media has on children. Violence, for example. Last week I was in Sharjah. So I found a couple giving an iPad or something to the child with a game. And I just overlooked what is the game. The game is Dishun who is killing so many people. Now, a boy who is taught to kill as many people and win brownie points, how can you expect him to be a votary of ahimsa? He'll be a violent man because violence is his staple food. So who is responsible in having exposed him to that game? Not the person who discovered the game, but the parent who allowed this game. So I should say that every mistake or allegation that you make on the child is basically ours. You read Khalil Gibran, then you will understand.
Your children are not your children, right? They are goats.
We try to make them our children. That is a problem. Your children are not your children. But we think that they are our children, therefore they have to be like us. They have to obey what you say.
We are living our dream with...
Yes, do not. They live their dreams. I am one with Gibran on that. They have their lives, they have their mind, they have their dreams, they have their destiny. Guide them.
Guide them, yeah.
Guide them. Give them values. Values is something the invisible, what should I say, the invisible oxygen of life. It's invisible.
You have some advice to the teachers also, right?
Teachers,
the current teachers.
I think teachers require a lot of training. Training in the sense, why? Because we had our own mechanisms. Growing up in Kerala, even if your teacher was not very responsible with her words, it doesn't hurt you because you have your father, you have your parents, you have your brother. There is another world I could fall back upon. I do not have to trust the teacher fully. There is a countervailing force at home, the family. Now the young parents are busy. Whatever the child learns from the school or listens to the teacher, from the teacher, and if that is a wrong message, he has no corrective mechanism. So he goes by that. Therefore, the teacher has to be far more responsible, not only with her words, but with her values. Why I say values is because in Malayalam, for example, I don't know whether you are a feminist in the conventional sense, but then the gender relationship of today is a far more equitable relationship.
Right.
Whereas when we grew up, it was not an equitable relationship. പെണ്ണായ അടങ്ങി ഒതുങ്ങിയിരിക്കണം.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Now if I say something like that, that is quite incorrect, isn't
Yeah.
it? Now teachers also carry a value load which is 15 years earlier to that of the
Correct.
kid that you teach.
Yeah.
Involuntarily, that value spark gets reflected in your unwitting expressions. The child is a very intelligent guy.
Oh yeah, okay.
You may not say in so many words, but the
Yeah.
value load of your every statement he understands.
Absolutely.
Maybe ideologically you would say something else, correct things, whatever is written in the text.
Correct,
But
correct.
your loose talk
Yeah.
or off the cuff remark will sort of undermine that, because the child knows she doesn't believe what she says. Because in that conversation she said like this.
That's a
Don't underestimate the child. He's a very brilliant brain. So I am very responsible when I speak with my children, you know. Not only children, school children. and all
Correct,
that.
correct,
I
correct.
treat them as adults.
Right, yeah.
Don't talk to them in the
Yeah.
our present year minus 20 years. No. They are going to live plus 20 years, you know.
So that means the teachers need like
Teacher
a
has
mind,
to be extremely
mind
vigilant.
shift, right? Mind shift, yeah.
Training, she has to be extremely vigilant.
Vigilant, yeah.
Vigilant and be very sensitive to the
Yeah.
ideas that are current and correct.
Current and correct.
Certain things which were correct earlier are no longer correct today.
Correct.
So this, I think value education is, value vigilance is something which I think is an essential thing for teachers. Every school should encourage the teachers to be more and more value vigilant. It's a very subconscious kind of thing, you know. We do very harmless, we say these things harmlessly, because in our times it was harmless. The child will not disagree with you, but he will make a note.
Do you think any country right now very advanced in this teacher
I'm
training?
not up to date on that, but I think many developed countries are quite concerned about it.
concerned about it. Okay.
Even our Supreme Court, for example, Indian Supreme Court issued a compendium of words which have to be necessarily not used, which should not be used in judgments, which are gender discriminatory.
Correct. Yeah.
We always say policeman, isn't it?
A policeman.
Fireman, postman. I saw 200 words at least. I have a copy of it in my office, which I said we should also try to inculcate it in our training programs. Because we always thought we are 20 years behind. We are 20 years.
We still learning history, right? His story, not her story.
You know her story.
It's his story.
Story. Because there is nothing, nobody to be blamed on that, because these are all inherited, and the society moves in a linear fashion. You know?
So we are talking about the difference between education, like 2 generations now. What about your bureaucratic life, like the value system, the changes, or a particular experience you are having, based on the like a negative or positive experience?
See, as I said, education is a reflection of what is happening in society.
Right.
So if society has negotiated certain values or given up certain values, it will be reflected in education. Education doesn't take place in a vacuum. One. You asked about the changes that are visible in bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy, yeah.
Again, bureaucracy also doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is an extension of your education, isn't it? It's an extension of your education sector. So the certain value shifts that have taken place in the society, like heightened competition, achieving results and success at any rate. All these things have got into our education system. For example, the entrance exam capital of India, Jodhpur, isn't it? Where all kinds of training Entrance exam coaching takes place there. Thousands of people flock to clear their NEET or NEET or whatever, all kinds of, and civil service. And civil service coaching has become something like a cottage industry in Kerala at least. I think in other parts of India also. They extract quite a hefty fees. And the number of people who are selected into the civil service remain as in the region of whatever it was in our times also.
Right, yeah.
Roughly speaking, on an average, or every year, the total number of people in the civil service list is 1,000, around 1,000, 900, 950,000. Out of which the top 100 or 120 goes into the IAS, then another 50 or 60, it depends, varies, goes into the Indian Foreign Service, then Indian Police Service, Indian Forest Service, and then so many Indian Revenue Service, all the central services, Indian Railway Service, there are wonderful services. All these services put together, including Central Secretariat Service, there are a lot of services.
Right, yeah.
All these put together, the Union Public Service Commission creates a list of around 1,000 people. You know how many people attend the preliminary round of the civil service exam? I am writing a book on civil service. Civil service Parikshayam Parikshanavum. First half of the book is about clearing the exam, and the second half of the book is clearing your service. Anyway, so nearly 15 lakhs of people have taken the exam in the last so many years, 21, 22, 23. The number of children appearing for the prelims is 15 lakhs.
Wow.
Out of which 15,000 to 20,000 people are called for, are allowed to take the written exam. 15,000 people. Out of these 15,000 people, 4,000 people are called for interview. They don't call it interview anymore, they call it personality test. Out of the 4,000, 3,000 are rejected, 1,000 are taken. So, to become one in this 1,000 from a pyramid base of 15 lakhs is not easy.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
The base is 15 lakhs.
Correct, yeah.
First rejection, you
go
into the silo of 15,000, then you go into the silo of 4,000, then you go into the 1,000, and out of that 1,000, first 100 or 150 to the IAS.
Correct, correct.
That is why we in the IAS sometimes pretend that we are a very great service, It's only pretension.
Yeah.
Your greatness should come from your work. Anyway, but what I am saying is, it is so difficult to get into the service. Rejection. It's a question of rejection.
Yeah.
Now all these things have made the prevalence of so many academies, so many training institutions, coaching centers, everything has made this particular civil service also highly competitive. People compete each other, they compare each other. It has become a kind of business. And many people waste their lives, young people, attempting all the 6 attempts. I think 6 is the general number.
Yeah.
For general category people, you can attempt 6 times. You start by the age of 25, by the age of 31, 6 years have gone down the drain and nothing has happened. I tell these people, you attempt once, twice, gauge your chances and go for some other job.
Okay.
And keep on trying, no problem. You might get
but
it.
at least focus
But at least, because your age, you cannot get back your age. You get into your service at 26, 27, it is not like getting into the age of 35.
Okay.
So, all these things have impacted the kind of people who get into the IAS also.
Okay, yeah.
Highly competitive.
Yeah.
Then, what is the kind of education they got? The kind of education we have already said. The kind of technological distraction. This is their individual profile. Now, looking at the social context, profiling them in the social context, our society in the last so many years, has it become a righteous society? Has it become a less corrupt society? Has it become a less violent society? I beg to differ, isn't it? Great good things have not happened. See, people who come to the IAS, they bring with them a value load. The values that they inherited from their own education system, with all its aberrations. Then they have to be contextualized in a society in which they live. And look at our society in the last 50 years. Has it become a more just and equitable society? Has it become a less violent society?
No.
Has it become a more trustworthy society where there is no corruption?
No.
Many great things have not happened in the society.
Yes.
Rather, a lot of deterioration has taken place.
Correct.
All the social deterioration, coupled with the educational, the deterioration in values, which have come to them through education, will be reflected in in bureaucracy.
Okay.
But then, this I say at a very general level. It all depends on the individual. Just because you are born in a violent society, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a violent fellow. It necessarily doesn't mean that you have to be a violent fellow. That is where individuals matter. We have the required wherewithal to sort of come to recognize this and generate within ourselves the force of resistance. Your entire office may be corrupt. That doesn't mean that I have to be corrupt. Your colleagues may be leading a very degenerate life. That doesn't mean that I have to lead a degenerate life. That is where family values, personal values, individual values which he has imbibed from reading, thinking, and even in such very bad times, there are wonderful people. Even among youngsters today, on a general plane you can say that they are distracted, but there are any number of brilliant people who read, who understand, who think. So everything is not lost. When you say at a general level, yes, people are distracted. Out of that there could be wonderful children. There are wonderful children. Even in colleges which are notorious, you will come across bright people.
So
they will not get into this group and all that. They will be very quiet.
So what I'm hearing is like control is within the parents.
Absolutely.
It all starts from the family.
You see, I have a theory on this.
Okay.
My theory is that it is your self-image that makes and unmakes you. As a parent, both of us are parents. As parents, I would think that the biggest responsibility of a parent is to help your child develop a self-image of himself. What kind of a guy are you? What kind of a girl are you? Now he tries defining himself without his knowledge right from his adolescent days. As I said in my earlier part, I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a gunda. I didn't want to be a drug peddler. I didn't want to be a city Romeo.
Correct,
or a Casanova. No.
Right, yeah.
I didn't want to be a film actor.
Right, yeah.
I wanted to be a teacher. That is my self-image. So all my associate values will revolve around that image. Is it good for a teacher? No.
Oh.
I should not be drinking and lying on the road, because I'm a teacher.
Okay.
So your self-image, what kind of a guy are you? It is the lack of the self-image that allows people to do whatever they want.
True.
If your self-image is such, self-image is conditioned by so many things. What your parents expect of you, what is their image of you. For example, I'll confess that I never touched alcohol till I reached my IAS academy, to be frank, or even after that. Till then I never touched alcohol. Then of course, after 6 years I stopped, I gave it up. Now I don't touch alcohol for so many years now. Why? Because I didn't want my mother or father to know that I drink. My self-image about their image of me doesn't permit that.
But that connection, I feel
values are very important.
Yeah.
I should not hurt my mother by a behavioral pattern which would be painful to her.
Exactly.
It doesn't fit into her image of myself. I think this self-image matters.
But that I can feel like a lot of, you're talking about your mother and the big connection you have. Is that something missing in this generation? That I have a feeling.
To quite a
as a teacher, I feel like,
There's a substantial hiatus between the children and
the connection between the parents and because the parents are getting so busy and they don't have time for these kids, and they see there is a saying like kids are not learning from my advice, kids are learning from what we are by observing what we are doing.
Advice. Has anybody learned from any advice?
Yeah.
Nobody.
So we need to, but parents don't have the time to show them. That's what that's you are kind of saying that, right? That
I have difference there also because time is not the only thing. Parents are busy, children are also busy. There
Right.
are children who go to school at 6:30 and
Right.
7 and all that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And come back late. Parents also come back late. But then it doesn't require enormous amount of time to bond, to bond for a bonding. I think slowly that bonding gets weak because we don't spend time together. We assume that he's in a different wavelength, I'm in a different wavelength.
Yeah.
We don't have enough points to beat. I think that is the biggest fallacy. It's the biggest fallacy. That is also because parents become impatient.
Okay.
Parents become impatient. I'm not a psychologist or a counselor or anything, but also we as parents most of the time fall into our own ideas about the child. We are victims of our own preconceived ideas.
Judgments and
preconceived ideas are nothing but fossils. It has been conceived 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Our preconceived idea about a child,
okay.
about a young fellow, about an adolescent boy or a girl, about their relationship. These are all preconceived ideas of 15, 20 years vintage. Time has changed. Unless you change, nothing can be done. So we are trying to put that child into your small cubicle of your ideas. Now it is not her problem but your problem. Your cubicle is the problem. Leave that cubicle and accept and understand for whatever she does. And if there is something fundamentally wrong and dangerous, guide her, saying that it's all right, but there is a lurking danger. Yeah, that is the only way to communicate. I am very comfortable with my grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren, 2 young daughters, granddaughters. Both of them are extremely comfortable with Apupa. Because Apupa doesn't say don't do this, do that, do this. I understand if they are going off a tangent, I can always say that don't do that. This is the problem.
But I like the word impatience.
But do not condemn them for what they do. All of us have made terrible mistakes, isn't it? Then we came out. I think we presume that they should not do any mistake. They do mistakes, but they should not be doing dangerous mistakes.
My mind is still staying in that place, like where you said parents or kids are like the 20 years or 25 years of gap is there, everything, right?
Thought gap.
So the
Our
parents
thoughts are
need to
fossilized. You should think like the child.
exactly. The parents has to step up and train themselves to
The
get
child
there.
cannot think like you.
Exactly.
You can think like the child.
Exactly. You said it. Yes.
അങ്ങനെയാണ് എനിക്ക് കൊച്ചു കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾക്കിടയിൽ വലിയ
Yeah, you can attract. Okay. So right now, you are retired. You are still working. The creative side is still like really high level. So you have a lot of dreams. So I still remember some words you said in an interview. എഴുതാനിരിക്കുന്ന പാട്ടുകളാണ് എനിക്ക്. So what are your current like?
I am a person who sort of refuses to age. Although my hair grays and my skin might wrinkle, I am a very young fellow at heart. In the sense, at the age of 71, I constructed a new house.
Oh,
this house.
And we are sitting
just
here
to keep my books.
Yeah.
Only half the books have come here. Now Malayalam books have not come. It's in the other house. So people ask me, nobody constructs a house at the age of 71. 35, 40 is the time when people. I said, I want a house. I want a place, a space for me where I write. I sort of. So this entire floor is mine. Nobody comes here. With my books and with my computer, and I'm quite happy here. What I've been doing is, a lot of things are pending, There are at least half a dozen books I have started writing but not completed.
Oh wow.
Which would include a book on Rumi, as I said, a book on
IAS.
IAS book, this Civil Service Parikshayam Parikshanam. Then there is another book on the assassination of the Spanish poet Lorca. who is very close to my heart, because I picked up a few very unknown books from London. That gives me sufficient material, and a lot of other books. Then I want to write a book on Baul songs of Bengal. Parvati Baul is a good friend of mine. These are the few books I have been writing, 1 chapter, 2 chapters, 3 chapters, but I have to complete. Then there are so many other important poems, books of poems I have to write. Khandagavi, long narrative poems. The small poems people will forget. So I want to write long narrative poems. One I have already written on Edutacham. So I'll give you the copy. Then I have a few other ideas. Recently I have spent a lot of time working on a script with Hariharan on this project Ujjaini of ONV Kurupu.
Okay.
I don't know whether that project will take off, but I have done my work. We have written the screenplay and dialogue and all that. Then earlier we were working on a project Kunjan Nandiya, that also didn't work. Then I have been working on a few other film scripts which are going on. And finally, I am sort of getting prepared to direct a film. Why I want to direct a film at this stage of my life is because direction, of course, is my kulatthozhil.
From your dad.
Because when I was born, my father was a director already. And I have seen him growing, going to the top,
Right.
and then stagnating and sort of fading out. That also I have seen. My documentary says all that.
Okay.
He directed more than 120 films, 30 in Tamil and Telugu, 5 films, nearly 90 films in Malayalam. So film has been our, what should I say, it was in our lives, in the center stage of our life.
Yeah.
So my father would come only very rarely, once in 2 months, 3 months, 2 days, 3 days. And most of the time we'll see him in the poster, Samvidhanam. So many films used to come. So direction has been a fascinating thing for me. That is why in, I think around 2000 I wanted to try this, whether I know about this. I'm not done direction in a conventional fashion.
Correct.
So I wrote this children's story, Varnachirangal. Wrote the script. I got a producer. I told my father was alive at that time. I told him that I am going to direct. You should come and switch on. He said, I'll come. So the previous day I came here just to ensure that he is ready by the time.
Right, yeah.
So he said, he called me and said, in Malayalam he said, you are directing for the first time and you are not a professional director. Your profession is entirely different.
Yeah.
So your cameraman, your other people working around you think that you don't know anything. The first presumption would be that this director is a fool, he doesn't know anything. So everybody will try to help inverted comma, saying that, sir, this camera position is not good, you change it.
Because he's more experienced.
This shot is not good, you do like this.
Right.
So my father said, first advice will then niragirikkanam. Do what you want to do. Do not listen to any advice. You cannot complete a film.
Act like you.
Do not listen to any such advice. Do what you think is correct. And it should be clear from day one, shot one.
Wow.
So I completed the film in 14 days. It's a children's film, 90 minutes film. And I obeyed letter and spirit what my father said.
Okay.
He would say,
wow, that's a cool. Okay.
So that is a very good advice.
Yeah.
And that also makes you very responsible because you are responsible for that shot. It has to come out correct. It should be better than what the other guy said. He said even if you make a mistake, some of it you can correct in editing.
Correct, yeah.
Or it will be there.
Next
but do not get swayed by others' ideas.
Wow, that's an advice for everyone out there.
You are the captain of the ship.
Exactly,
You are the captain of the ship. Now I have written a script which is ready. Actually somebody had agreed to produce it also.
To take time.
It's always like that, he backed out. Now I think one of the producers have come forward. Maybe I'll do it now.
So you're writing the songs and all in that, or?
It is not a movie with the song and dance and all.
Right,
it's a realistic movie, but there is a 1.5 song, I should say.
Okay.
But it's not a celebratory movie. It is about what should I say, the sufferings and the travails, the hardships of lower middle class people.
Correct, yeah.
People are trying to stay alive or make both ends meet, despite all the negligence, neglect, not negligence, neglect of powers that be.
Okay.
Whether it is your village officer or panchayat office or taluk tahsildar or whoever it is. The poor man, the powerless is powerless.
Oh, that's kind of interesting when you say that.
I want to make that film because I worked as part of the power system.
Correct, yeah.
For 35 years.
Right.
And I have to make this film this year or next year, whatever it is,
Okay.
as a kind of atonement, if I may say so.
Must
Because
be.
I have always been part of the establishment. Although individually I must have related with people, I must have tried to help them. But I know the power structure is not poor friendly, not at all.
So this is kind of your...
Even now corruption is rampant.
Right,
And who are the
exactly.
victims of corruption? The poor. The rich man doesn't bother because he has taken money from somewhere else, isn't it? It's not his money. So he will give. So it's the poor man who is the sufferer all the time. I have to tell the story of a family who is tossed by the waves of this, what should I say, insensitive system.
Insensitive. Exactly, yeah.
That is my way of telling that I am with you.
That's exactly your reaction to all this corruption.
So I have to do this film.
Wow,
some
amazing.
of the sir, subject.
No, you have to do it. So,
Even if it takes some time, I'll do it.
wow.
The story is about a family struggling to keep alive.
Yeah, you already said that, the insensitivity.
Post-COVID situation. You know?
Okay.
The breadwinner of the family dies.
Great.
How the daughter struggles. And inhuman loss.
So it's coming from the pain you are
I can
suffering
empathize the
right
pain.
now, seeing all these
My
societies.
script is all ready.
Okay.
One or two people have shown interest.
So
But film is something, because there is money involved, but a lot of money involved. You can't just,
yes, right, yeah.
at the drop of a hat, make a film. It takes time. But whatever it is, this will be my first film.
Thank you, sir. So all the best for the movie. Looking forward to that, So let us conclude like that.
So I
Thanks
think
for...
life is not a monosyllable poem or word. It is a multiple dimensions. I still work for government and I try to do whatever is possible to make my training programs more responsive and responsive to the people, or make your government services more accountable. That is what I do all the time. At the same time, as a poet, I listen to the voices of society, to the times. I am sensitive to that. As a public speaker, wherever I go, I try to convey my value system, which I think I go to a lot of educational institutions. Invariably, what I do is to redefine success.
Yes.
That has been my one theme.
Defenses.
Success is not only about making money and occupying positions, but success is living your dreams, living out what you are. As I said, the realization of your self-image. And success is all about being remembered as a good human being.
Exactly.
If
That's
you
the
have
reason.
everything and nobody remembers you as a good human being, you are a crass failure, isn't it? So these are the few things. As you grow old, things become more cogent and clear. Not that I have any special gifts. As you grow old, your experiences fall in their place. The right kind of lessons come to you. And if you can articulate, I think that is also what part of my social commitment. To tell people what I feel is correct.
Exactly.
So this is how life goes on.
That's the reason we are sitting together today, the redefining success. Because when we look back, the somebody to follow, or as a guru, for me actually at least, guru to follow in Malayalam right now, the first name come to my mind is K.Jayakumar IAS. So that is the reason we are doing this interview, or I don't know, I can call it interview or this beautiful time together. You shared all your wisdoms and experience.
The parting word would be that for the American young people, my parting word would be, love India, if possible come back to India.
Definitely.
And the general observation would be love life.
Love life.
Never get disenchanted with life. Life with all its problems. Love life. Life in all its multitudinous challenges is very interesting. It's very interesting. Again, to quote and conclude what my favorite poet Tagore, he says in Tagore in Gitanjali, saying that when I go from here, let this be my parting word. What I have seen here is wonderful. What I have experienced is beyond description. So he lives life with a sense of gratitude. So I should say that is a sense of mystery and gratitude and love for life, which will make every day wonderful.
Thank you, sir.